see a black person walking down the street, you make eye contact, you acknowledge each other's presence.
Yeah, nah, definitely.
I want to co-sign on what he's saying here. I've had the privilege to have traveled to some countries, and I lived overseas as a kid. And I can tell an African American from an African diaspora member just off of that. So, like, we were in Lisbon last year, and Lisbon has a lot of African diaspora in it, and I could tell who was African American based off of African diaspora just by the head nod. Had spent some time in Zurich, and was at the airport arriving from somewhere else, and several Africans, no acknowledgement. Me and one of the few African Americans I saw, when we made eye contact, we just did the "Oh, I see you, sis." Had to happen in Switzerland, had to happen in Paris. But it's very interesting that when we as African Americans, especially when we're in spaces that we're definitely not the majority, we're obviously the minority, where we give each other some form of acknowledgement. It's like, I see you, you see me. We're not many of us in the room, but we see each other. And it doesn't matter that I really don't know you. This is my first time seeing you. But to experience that not being a part of the African diaspora culture was very eye opening. And when I was in Europe last year, it was a reawakening to that because I had forgotten that that's part of it. It's like, hey, you can tell immediately who's African American and who's African diaspora by whether or not we acknowledge each other. Like, I see you. I don't have to talk to you. We ain't got to be friends. I don't have to be in your community. But the sheer fact that we realize where we are in this room or in this space or on the street, we see each other. And so I think it's something that to be highlighted. And I love how he went to the fact, like, everybody tells us that we're divided, that we tell us that our families are divided and our families are fractured. And that's really just not true. My parents, as of this year, have been married over 45 years. I have grandparents. I have grandparents that were single, a single mom, but I also have grandparents that were married over 50 years. My in-laws, they were married over 40 plus years. Some of my mentors, they were married 40, 50 plus years. And they tell us our families are fractured, but majority of the African American families I know come from very strong relationships that have longevity and years to them. So I love what was stated here from the fact that we collaborate and we work together as a family and we take care of our family and we take care of our community, no matter the narrative that they try to push of let's pull out the families that don't do that and make it seem like that's what's mainstream. The African American community, they're fragmented, they're individualistic, they don't support each other, they leave each family member or community member to their own devices, and absolutely not true. And I love hearing it in the context of him working with his family on productions, but I also love the fact that he pointed out the little things of something as simple of when we're on the street, we acknowledge it. I went to PWI, and I think what's very heartbreaking to see is some of the younger generation not doing that. Like, I've been on campus several times, and I don't look like I'm in my 40s. I look like I'm in my 30s. Some kids, I got this. I think the crux, this was a couple of weeks ago. Someone said, "You look like you're like 28." I'm like, "Oh, dang it." But I don't look like I'm in my 40s. So I'm watching these kids, and not only they're not acknowledging my presence, but they're not acknowledging each other's presence. And I remember when we were there at that PWI, that we knew that you were not an African American, that you were African diaspora, just by the fact that you wouldn't acknowledge me. You would just look away. I would go to give you the head knock or go to give you eye contact, and you wouldn't give me eye contact. You wouldn't acknowledge me, or you felt more comfortable with the majority and the majority space versus us of the diaspora, unless it was your diaspora from your country. And so, very, very interesting points to bring out. I think as we try to move towards Pan Africanism, I personally believe that Pan Africanism is our only way to liberation because colonization and the evils that colonization present and how it presents itself is the same, but it shows up in all our spaces, and we are not collectively fighting like the enemy is the same. And so, but I would love to see that more as a Pan African movement versus just an African American diaspora movement of I see you, you see me, I acknowledge that you here, I see you, I acknowledge your humanity, even while others in the space, whether it's majority people or whether it's other minorities, are ignoring your presence. I see you.